Hi all, I hope you are all still well and safe. It's Miss Gonta here. I'm here this morning to read you the second half of the latest chapter of Harry Potter. I will try my best, but yeah, we know I'm not great at this. So yes, off we go. I knew it, he murmured. There's something in there that shouldn't be. A werewolf, Harry suggested. That wasn't no werewolf, and it wasn't no unicorn either, said Hagrid grimly. Right, follow me, but be careful. They walked more slowly, ears straining for the faintest sound. Suddenly, in the clearing ahead, something definitely moved. Who's there? Hagrid called. Show yourself. I'm armed. And into the clearing came, was it a man or a horse? To the waist, a man with red hair and a beard. But below, that was a horse gleaming. Chestnut body with a long reddish tail. Harry and Hermione's jaws dropped. Oh, it's you, Ronan, said Hagrid in relief. How are you? He walked forward and shook the senator's hand. Good evening to you, Hagrid, said Ronan. He had a deep sorrow voice. Were you going to shoot me? Can't be too careful, Ronan, said Hagrid, patting his crossbow. There's something bad loose in this forest. This is Harry Potter and Hermione Granger, by the way, students up at the school. And this is Ronan, you two. He's a centaur. We noticed, said Hermione faintly. Good evening, said Ronan. Students, are you? And do you learn much up at that school? A bit, Hermione said timidly. A bit? Well, that's something, Ronan sighed. He flung back his head and stared to the sky. Mars is bright tonight. Yeah, said Hagrid, glancing up too. Listen, I'm glad we've run into you, Ronan, because there's some unicorn being hurt. You seen anything? Ronan didn't answer immediately. He stared unblinkingly upwards and sighed again. Always innocent are the first victims, he said. So it has been for ages past. So it is now. Yeah, said Hagrid. But have you seen anything, Ronan? Anything unusual? Mars is bright tonight, Ronan repeated while Hagrid watched him impatiently. Unusually bright. Yeah, but I was meaning anything unusual, a bit nearer home, said Hagrid. So yeah. Have you noticed anything strange? Yet again, Ronan took a while to answer. At last, he said, the forest hides many secrets. A movement in the trees behind Ronan made Hagrid raise his bow again. But it was only the second centaur, black-haired and bodied and wilder looking than Ronan. Hello, Bane, said Hagrid. All right? Good evening, Hagrid. I hope you are well. Well enough. Look, I've just been asking Ronan. Did you see anything odd in here lately? Only there's a unicorn been injured. Would you know anything about it? Bane walked over to stand next to Ronan. He looked skywards. Mars is bright tonight, he said simply. We've heard, said Hagrid grumpily. Well, if either of you do see anything, let me know, won't you? We'll be off then. Harry and Hermione followed him out of the clearing, staring over the shoulders at Ronan and Bane until the trees blocked their view. Never, said Hagrid irritably. Try and get straight answer out of a centaur. Ruddy stargazers, not interested in anything closer than the moon. Are there many of them in here? Asked Hermione. Only a fair few. Keep themselves to themselves mostly, but they're good enough about turning up if I ever want a word. They're deep-minded. They just know things, just don't let on much. Do you think that was a centaur we heard earlier? Said Harry. Did that sound like hooves to you? Nah, if you ask me, that was the bin killing unicorns. Never heard anything like it before. They walked on through the dense, dark trees. Harry kept looking nervously over his shoulder. He had a nasty feeling they'd been watched. He was very glad that Hagrid had his crossbow with him. They just passed a bend in the path where Hermione grabbed Hagrid's arm. Hagrid, look! Red sparks! Others are in trouble! You two wait here, Hagrid shouted. Stay on the path and I'll come back for you. They heard him crashing away through the undergrowth, stood looking at each other, very scared until they couldn't hear anything but the rustling of the leaves around them. Do you think they've been hurt? Whispered Hermione. I don't care if Malfoy has, but if someone's got Neville, it's our fault he's here in the first place. The minutes dragged by. Their ears seemed sharper than usual. Harry seemed to be picking up every sigh of the wind, every crackling twig. What was going on? Where were the others? At last, a great crunching noise announced Hagrid's return. Malfoy, Neville and Fang were with him. Hagrid was fuming. Malfoy, it seemed, had sneaked up behind Neville and grabbed him for a joke. Neville had panicked and sent up the sparks. We'd be lucky to catch anything now with the racket you two are making. Right, we're changing groups. Neville, you stay with me and Hermione. Harry, you go with Fang and this idiot. I'm sorry, Hagrid, added in the whisper to Harry, but he'll have a harder time frightening you, and we've got to get this done. So Harry sent off to Hart in the forest with Malfoy and Fang. They walked for nearly half an hour, deeper and deeper into the forest, until the path became almost impossible to follow because of the trees. They were so thick. Harry thought that the blood seemed to be getting thicker. There were splashes on the roots of the trees, as though the poor creature had been thrashing around in pain. Close by, Harry could see a clearing ahead, through the tangled branches of an innocent oak. Look, he murmured, holding his arm to stop Malfoy. Something bright white was gleaming on the ground. They inched closer. It was a unicorn, all right, and it was dead. Harry's never seen anything so beautiful, yet so sad. It was long, slender, and legs were stuck out at all odd angles where it had fallen, and its mane was spread pearly white on the dark leaves. Harry had taken one step towards, when a slithering sound made him freeze where he stood. A bush on the edge of the clearing quivered. Then, out of the shadows, a hooded figure came crawling across the ground, like some stalking beast. Harry, Malfoy and Fang stood transfixed. The cloaked figure reached the unicorn. It lowered its head over the wound in the animal's side and began to drink its blood. Malfoy let out a terrible scream and bolted. So did Fang. The hooded figure raised its head and looked right at Harry. Unicorn blood was dripping out of its front. It got to its feet and came swiftly towards him. He couldn't move for fear. Then a pain pierced his head like he'd never felt before. It was as though his skull was on fire. Half blinded, he staggered backwards. He heard hooves behind him galloping, and something jumped clean over him, charging at the figure. The pain in Harry's head was so bad he fell to his knees. It took a minute or two to pass, and when he looked up, the figure had gone. A centaur was standing over him, not Ronan or Bane. This one looked younger. He had white, blonde hair. Are you all right? Pulling Harry to his feet. Yes, thank you. What was that? He didn't answer. He had astonishingly blue eyes, like pale sapphires. He looked carefully at Harry's eyes, lingering on the scar which stood out, livid on Harry's forehead. You are the Potter boy, he said. You'd better get back to Hagrid. The forest is not safe this time, especially for you. Can you ride? It will be quicker this way. As he lowered himself onto the front legs so that Harry could clamber onto his back, there was suddenly a sound of more galloping from the other side of the clearing. Ronan and Bane came bursting through the trees, and their flanks heaving and sweaty. What are you doing? You don't have a human on your back. You have no shame. Are you common mule? You realise who this is? This is the Potter boy. The quicker he leaves the forest, the better. What have you been telling him? growled Blaine. Remember, we are sworn not to set ourselves against the heavens. Have we not read what it is to become movements of the planets? Ronan pawed on the ground nervously. I'm sure he thought that he was acting for the best. Bane kicked his back legs in anger. For the best? What is it to do with us? Senators are concerned with what he's been foretold. It is not our business to run around like donkeys after stray humans in our forest. Suddenly, reared onto his hind legs in anger, so Harry had to grab his shoulders to stay on. Do you not see that unicorn? Do you not understand why it was killed? Or have the planets not let you in that secret? I set myself against what is lurking in the forest. Bane, yes, with humans alongside me if I must. As he whisked around, with Harry clutching on to the best of him, he could then plunge off into the trees, leaving Ronan and Bane behind them. Harry didn't have a clue what was going on. Why was Blaine so angry? He asked. What was the thing you saved me from anyway? They slowed down to walk, warned Harry to keep his head bowed in case of low-hanging branches, but did not answer Harry's question. They made their way through the trees in silence, for so long that Harry thought he didn't want to talk to him any more. They were passing through a particularly dense patch of trees. However, when he suddenly stopped, Harry Potter, do you know what unicorn blood is used for? No, said Harry, startled by such an odd question. We've only used the horn and tail in potions. That's because the monstrous thing, to slay a unicorn, the only one who has nothing to lose and everything to gain, would commit such a crime. The blood of a unicorn will keep you alive, even if you are an inch from death. But as a terrible price, you have slain something pure and defenceless to save yourself, and you will have half a life, a cursed life, from the moment the blood touches your lips. Harry stared at the back of his head, which was damp or silver in the moonlight. But who would be that desperate? He wondered aloud. If you're going to be cursed forever, death's better, isn't it? It is. Unless all you need is to stay alive long enough to drink something else, something that will bring you back to full strength and power, something that will mean that you can never die. Mr. Potter, do you know what is hidden in the school at this very moment? Well, the Philosopher's Stone, of course. But you don't understand who... Can you think of nobody who has waited many years to return its power, who has clung to life awaiting their chances? It was as though an iron fist had clenched suddenly around Harry's heart. Over the rustling of the trees, he seemed to hear once more what Hagrid had told him on the night they had met. Some say he died. In my opinion, I don't think that was the case. I don't know if he had enough human left in him to die. Do you mean, Harry croaked, that was Harry, are you okay? Hermione was running towards him, down the path, Hagrid puffing along behind her. I'm fine, said Harry, hardly knowing what he was saying. The unicorn's dead. Hagrid, it's in the clearing back there. This is where I leave you. As Hagrid hurried off to examine the unicorn, you are safe now. Harry slid off his back. Good luck, Harry Potter. The planets have been read wrongly before now, even by centaurs. I hope this is one of those times. He had turned and centred back into the depths of the forest, leaving Harry shivering behind him. Ron had fallen asleep in the dark common room, waiting for them to return. He shouted something about Quidditch, when Harry roughly shook him awake. In a matter of seconds, though, he was wide-eyed as Harry began to tell him and Hermione what had happened in the forest. Harry couldn't sit down. He paced up and down in front of the fire. He was still shaking. Snape wants the stone for Voldemort, and Voldemort's waiting in the forest. And all this time we thought Snape just wanted to get rich. Stop saying the name, said Ron in a terrified whisper, as he thought Voldemort could hear them. Harry wasn't listening. I was saved, but he shouldn't have done. Bane was furious it was going to happen. They must show that Voldemort's coming back. Bane thinks that they should have let Voldemort kill me. I suppose that's written in the stars as well. Will you stop saying the name? Ron hissed. So all I've got to do now is wait for Snape to steal the stone. Harry went on feverishly. Then Voldemort will be happy and able to come and finish me off. Well, I suppose Bane will be happy. Hermione looked very frightened, but she had a word of comfort. Harry, everyone says Dumbledore's the only one. You know, whoever was afraid of, with Dumbledore around, you know who won't touch you. Anyway, who says the centaurs are right? It sounds like fortune-telling to me, and Professor McGonagall says that it's a very imprecise branch of magic. The sky had turned light before they stopped talking. They went to bed exhausted, their throats sore, but the night's surprises weren't over. When Harry pulled back his sheets, he found his invisibility cloak folded neatly underneath them. There was a note pinned to it saying, "Just in case." So, there we go. There is the last, well, not the last, but the second half of the chapter. And the next one will be chapter 16. So, my little task for you today. I would like you to come up with your own spells. So, imagine you were stuck in that forest. Okay, and you had 3 spells that you could use to either help you escape, help you rescue someone, or light your wand. Okay, bit like the genie from Aladdin, like when Aladdin has 3 wishes. Anyway, so that is what I want you to do. You are going to come up with 3 different spells. However, they need to sound pretty cool, like Oculus Repairers, clean. Like, imagine if you had that every time your glasses broke or needed cleaning. I need that in my life. So yeah, you're coming out with 3 spells. Write them down, make them like really, really fancy, but make sure you write down what they do. So it has been lovely reading for you all again, and hopefully we'll see you soon.